Welcome to Hunter's Point, Episode 4. At last, things were beginning to shift in my favor. The cloud of suspicion had lifted, and even James, yes, James, seemed less like a shadow and more like someone real. We'd taken to walking together in the quiet of evening, always far from prying eyes. I told nosy Meredith I was chasing a story, and though her arched brow said otherwise, she didn't press. The Bentworths, meanwhile, were consumed with preparations for their grand gallery opening. Invitations were being penned, gowns fitted, and most notably, a silent campaign had begun among the wealthy to marry off their wandering heirs before the season's end.
I have everything I need for the opening. Well, almost everything. What it lacks now is something exquisite. Stitched perhaps across the bodice, it must speak without saying a word. Lady Sonora Bentworth began pondering her dress.
Well, darling, I've no doubt you'll make it perfect. I, for one, have exhibits arriving from Vienna and Paris. Do you need anything fetched while I'm out?
No, I shall go into town myself. I've heard whispers of a fabric shop that carries rare silks. Perhaps I'll find the final thread I need there.
Sounds good. I'll leave you to it, he said, bidding his wife goodbye, delayed by James entering the room.
Did I hear you say fabric? Asked James, entering the room like he had a big secret while greeting his father.
Now, why on earth would you be interested in my dress woes?
I met a girl whose mom is a very fine dressmaker. Maybe she can help, he suggested, pouring a glass of sherry.
You met a girl? Where would you meet a girl in such a low station in life? She said, laying her project aside.
Dear, we must not disparage those with less than us. Though, son, you do know there is a certain level of woman who can carry the Bentworth name, Mr. Bentworth clarified.
An heir?
Father, I'm simply asking about fabric, not if I can have the girl's hand in marriage. Remember the girl I told you I met in the employ of the Smithfields? That's who I'm talking about, he explained, growing increasingly frustrated by his parents' elitism.
So, you think her mother fixing my dress will get us information on the Smithfields?
Precisely. If I can get her to trust me, maybe I can get her to tell me more about the almighty family, and most importantly, their weakness.
I'm sure your mother has an alternate plan other than you befriending a washer girl. It's beneath you, son. I agreed, gathering my coat and briefcase, determined not to be late.
Thank you, dear. In fact, a peculiar item came out in new gossip column that named a rich heiress who lacks financial discretion.
Yes, I read that. Sordid business. Who do you think it is, Mother? I asked, walking in with the newspaper in my hand.
Well, we shall soon find out. I have a spy perfectly placed to get what I need.
I think this washer girl.
Father, she's a reporter for The Observer, James interrupted, sounding a bit annoyed at his dismissive tone.
You seem a little attached, observed Patience, smiling mischievously.
Well, we don't need her. So whatever you're cultivating, it must cease. It's time for you to move in a new direction and begin to pursue a woman who is from a more genteel class.
James burned with a quiet fury beneath his composed exterior. The decision had been made in the solitude of his heart. Avery Pickney would be his wife. Of that he was certain. But certainty alone would not sway the iron will of the Bentworths, convincing his family to accept a woman of humble station, a laundress's daughter no less, into their gilded lineage would be a battle waged in hushed parlors and beneath chandeliers that had never known struggle. Still, James no longer cared. Let the gossips chatter and the patriarch fume. He would endure it all. Whatever price society demanded of him, he would pay it for her.
Dear, Before you go, what did all you decide at the syllabus meeting?
That Riley Jefferson would be our next mayor, and James Bentworth after him. And we also decided to keep the family attacks hidden for now.
It's just horrible. Are we safe, Father?
Are the police getting any closer?
Oh, my loves, don't be concerned. Patience has plenty of security at the galleries. And James, I'd like you to stop going out alone.
I'm perfectly fine. And from what we learned at the meeting, the attacks are in people's homes. Maybe we need to get more security around here.
No one is getting on these premises without a thorough inspection, assured Sebastian II, entering the room.
That's the spirit, my boys. Let's do everything we can to keep our women safe. Now, I must go, he concluded, rushing out the door.
I'm going down to the dock. You want to go? Sebastian asked James under his breath.
Yes, I think I've heard enough about these dastardly attacks, James confirmed, gathering his hat.
Take your sister, demanded Mother, turning back to her clock for her inspection.
The dock wasn't just a social spot, it was the place where the city's Black elite let down their guard. Pool tables lined with wagers thicker than wallets, voices raised in song and scandal, and whispers that clung to the walls like perfume. For some, it was a chance to meet the one. For others, the dock held secrets they'd pay dearly to keep buried. When I returned to the Smithfields from my visit with Lady Thibodeau, I carried the satisfaction of a sealed bargain and the hopeful promise of a transformed dress. But the pride didn't last long. Helen was waiting at the door, her posture too stiff, her eyes brighter than usual.
Is everything all right? I asked, a twinge of unease prickling beneath my skin. The house was too quiet.
Yes, yes, everything's just fine. She grabbed my arm with urgency, pulling me into one of the side parlors. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I've been hearing things. Meredith's been sneaking out to some place called the dock.
If only she knew the dock wasn't the only place Meredith was disappearing to.
I've never heard of it, I said, faking confusion. The maids hadn't spoken a word about the place. Not directly, just hints, glances, warnings wrapped in silence.
Well, I'm tired of being left behind. If Meredith gets to run around town chasing excitement, then so do I. And Mother and Father won't know a thing.
She handed me an umbrella, not for rain, but for a disguise. Yes, ma'am, I murmured, unsure if I was being enlisted or conscripted.
We're going right now. I want to see with my own eyes if she's down there cavorting with one of those cads.
Miss Helen, please, what if we're caught? My voice trembling beneath the weight of a truth she didn't seem to see. You'll return home to your own warm bed, but I trailed off. My stability was never a guarantee.
I'll take the blame, she said, chin raised like royalty on the battlefield. I'll tell them I forced you. Trust me.
Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, but secrets don't stay buried forever. And that night, I found out one that could secure my future. As our carriage descended the winding hill, the amber light of the setting sun bathed the city in a warm golden hue. The air carried the scent of summer. Fresh lake water mingled with the faint perfume of honeysuckle trailing from garden hedges. At the foot of the hill lay a bustling promenade, its wooden deck stretching out along the glistening edge of the lake. A genteel restaurant perched at the center, its wide windows catching the last flush of daylight. Pleasure boats bobbed gently against the docks, their silhouettes casting long shadows across the water, where a few daring souls swam, their laughter echoing softly in the twilight. Among the visitors, a handful still clung to the elegance of carriage travel, But most had taken to the newest symbol of progress, those gleaming motor cars that turned heads and stirred envy. The most admired of all were the Patterson's automobiles, marvels of engineering first released in 1885 by the esteemed J.P. Patterson and his sons, the pioneering Black craftsmen whose mechanical genius had captured the imagination of the nation. To possess a Patterson was not merely to travel, it was to announce one's place in modern society. And judging by the steady stream of them pulling up, everyone seemed eager to be seen. The dock was alive with laughter, lake mist, and the scent of expensive perfume. As it came into view, I paused. Lord, that's a lot of people. Wealth on full display. Young folks dripping in silk and arrogance, talking too loud and dancing too free.
These are the sons and daughters of the city's finest families, and a few strays like you. Well, you know what I mean, Helen began, interrupting my pleasant silence.
I know exactly what she meant. Helen had never tasted fear for her future, never wondered if the world would make room for her. Yes, ma'am, I said, my voice flat, while my insides burned like coal.
Timothy came sprinting down the dock, then leaped into the lake like a child chasing summer. So, this was what an heir did when he wasn't behind the camera lens. He was living.
I see a friend. I want to say hello.
I'll pass. And just so you know, for next time, I have no interest in meeting your friends. We don't keep company on the same level. You're here as my servant, Avery, not as my peer. I do hope that's clear.
Crystal, I thought bitterly, just like it was when she stole my dress. Yes, ma'am, Master Helen. I, I mean, Miss Helen. I murdered as I turned on my heel.
Avery? What are you doing here?
Timothy waved, emerging from the lake. I heard this was the hangout spot for the rich and restless, I replied, passing him a towel he'd motioned toward.
You heard right. You alone? They don't let just anybody up here unless you walk in with the right people.
I came with Helen Smithfield.
You don't say, he said, peering over my shoulder. Think you can introduce us? I've always wanted a woman like that. Rich, refined, hard to get.
You're not her type, I smirked. She and her mother commandeered the dress my mother made for me, and then she made me come and hang out with her.
I'm sorry they did that, but I don't want you to worry. I'll buy you another, he assured, straightening the towel draped around my shoulders. Tell me when. Where?
No need. Helen and I, well, we're working something out. The plan is I will wear the dress my mother made me to the gala after all. She'll sneak it to me behind her mother's back.
That must be some dress to risk Madame Smithfield's wrath. You really think you can trust her?
Not for a second. She thinks I'm beneath her. But what other choice do I have?
She thinks everyone's beneath her.
We wandered the dock, my eyes scanning the crowd like a hawk. And then I saw him, James Bentworth, standing near the railing, speaking to a woman I didn't recognize. Their closeness, it wasn't casual, it was familiar. Just as I made a move towards them, Helen's hand caught my arm.
Where have you been? She asked, batting her eyes at Timothy.
With the friend you didn't want to meet. This is Timothy, heir to the Observer, I said, unimpressed by her sudden interest in my friends.
How do you do? He replied, kissing her hand.
I don't think Meredith's here, she said, pulling her hand away, acting coy.
Hello, Avery, interrupted a familiar and comforting voice.
James, Hello, I replied, sounding a little too happy. This is Timothy, the photographer for the Observer and future owner, I said, noticing the girl he was standing with earlier.
Who is this? Helen asked, sounding confused.
This is James Bentworth of the Bentworth Gallery, I said, trying not to sound smug.
And this is my sister, Patience.
Well, I'm Helen Smithfield, and how exactly do you know my servant girl, Avery?
She's my family newspaper's top reporter, Timothy said, sounding offended.
No, she didn't. My blood ran hot. She might as well have slapped me in front of the whole dock. Helen turned to me without missing a beat, her smile saccharine.
Avery, do be a dear and fetch us something to drink, won't you?
The whole thing sweeter than that fake smile would be watching it crack, and it wouldn't take long.
We're in no need of refreshment. I was simply wondering whether you and your companions might care to join my sister, brother, and me for a ride aboard our schooner.
He gestured toward a magnificent vessel, gleaming white with polished brass fittings, its sails catching the fading light like silk. It was the kind of boat that whispered of wealth, leisure, and promises made beneath the setting sun. We rode upon the water until twilight draped itself over the sky in shades of plum and gold. A gentle breeze kissed the lake's surface, and for a while, time seemed suspended. James and I conversed as if the rest of the world had fallen silent. He spoke with easy charm and quiet confidence, the kind that drew attention without demanding it. He told the story of Absalom Boston, the first Black Sea captain with an all-Black crew. I caught Helen watching us from a distance while talking to Sebastian II, her expression unreadable, perhaps annoyance, perhaps something else. Patience Bentworth, for all her family's breeding, was a delight. She laughed freely with Timothy, who, to his credit, was far more amusing than he had any right to be.
So, Miss Smithfield, will you be attending the opening of our gallery? Asked Patience graciously.
Of course. Mother insists I meet one of the Bentworth men, but I suppose that introduction has already occurred. She said, looking innocently at Sebastian II, if only he knew her true heart.
And you, Avery, will you be in attendance? James asked with a veiled expectation.
Yes, Mr. Peace asked Timothy and me to cover the event for the Observer.
By the time we returned to the pier, dusk had swallowed the last of the light. As we rode through the town, I noticed someone familiar passing by. It was Mr. Bentworth and Miss Thibodeau were in the carriage with him. What are they doing together? I wondered. Just as I dismissed thoughts of something improper, Helen and my conversation turned inevitably to the Bentworths. James had not said it outright, but it was understood. His intention, his gaze, his quiet warmth, it was a declaration of courtship. Patience and Sebastian II, his sister and brother, seemed untroubled by his interest in me, though I doubted it would remain that way for long. As we neared the gates of the Smithfield estate, Helen turned to me.
We don't speak of this, she demanded through clenched teeth.
Agreed, I said, knowing she wouldn't keep our secret for one moment.
The grand parlor glowed with lamplight and tension of the Bentworth estate. Crystal clinked as decanters were poured, but no one drank. As soon as the Bentworth kids returned, news had already gotten to them about our boat ride.
James Adolphus Bentworth, what is this I hear about you gallivanting on the lake with the Smithfields' hired help? Mother began. If your father were here, he would be appalled.
Mother, father is never here. The young lady's name is Avery. She accompanied her mistress, Miss Helen Smithfield. Would you have preferred I leave her behind, stranded on the dock like discarded linen?
Are we still talking about the washer girl? Truly, James, your sense of adventure knows no bounds, said Sebastian in a fed-up voice, returning from his business.
I swear I am seeing stars. You'll be the ruin of this family's good name in Hunter Point. Flirt if you must, but stay focused. We are not common.
She's a kind and intelligent woman, Mother. She speaks French, and she's a top reporter for The Observer. She reminds me of you, Patience explained, trying to change the mood.
What, pray tell, does parlez-vous have to do with dignity and pedigree? And a woman of my caliber reminds you of a washerwoman? Sonora asked, fanning herself.
She's not a washerwoman.
Good luck, Mother. You know James is a sucker for a girl with a pen and a mop, Sebastian II teased.
Hear, hear, said Patience, giggling.
Thank you for joining us for episode 4 of Hunter's Point. Next week on Hunter's Point.
Whoa, whoa. Oh, what is this undignified screaming about?
Look, Avery, I'm going to say this one time only.
Mama? Catherine? I shouted as she ran to embrace me.
You owe me nothing. I'll leave you all alone, I continued, closing the door, knowing that kindness in my world is currency.
Tune in every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time this fall for weekly episodes. This has been a Royal Black and Elite production.